interrupt though if I need us to stop and mark something, okay?
Okay. Still moving, my smart, athletic brother said sarcastically, "This vacation will be over soon and we'll be back to our old routine." Yay! My mom was Molly, but my brother insisted on calling me Moody. It was
Infuriating.
infuriating, not to mention unfair. I really wasn't all that moody, just super sensitive to the ups and downs of my daily life. Today, for instance, my mood was on downward spiral, but for a good reason. There was so much I'd rather be doing than sitting in the backseat of my economy-sized rental car with my big mouth brother. We could be going to an amusement park or swimming in the sparkling clear waters of the hotel pool, but no, we are headed to a Civil War battlefield.
Okay, I'm gonna interrupt you right there. All right, so everyone, I want you to be thinking. Remember those notes we just took, right, or we just looked at, right? All of these things are things that we might see in this narrative. So right now, when I look at this title, if you're comfortable chiming in by unmuting yourself, or you can put it in the chat, which of those literary elements is this title showing us? Exactly. So I'm going to highlight that yellow. You can choose a different color, but anything that we see that's alliteration throughout the narrative, we're going to highlight the same color. And then I'm going to go put a note, a comment to myself that that's alliteration. That way I have an example from my piece of what alliteration really looks like. Now, the other thing that we've done in this moment is we've met our main character. So someone, either in the chat or out loud, tell me who is the main character. Now, is their name Moody Molly? How does the character feel about that name, Moody Molly? Angry, irritated. Yes, I see you guys in the chat. Excellent job. So I'm going to highlight Molly because that's our character, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to list our main character is Molly. And because these are your notes right now, you can abbreviate MC for main character. Molly, she's a little bit irritated at her brother, right? So if I'm typing, or you should be typing, or you could be writing this on a piece of notebook paper if you're more comfortable doing it that way. But she's irritated at her brother. We also find out a little bit about the setting. What is going to be the setting of this story? Where's the place and time it's happening? A battlefield? Yeah. So here, notice how I'm choosing a different color because now we're talking about setting. We've got in the car, but also at a Civil War battlefield. Now, here's a hint. All of these notes we're taking are going to help you answer the questions that are on your assignment. Okay? So as we're taking notes, I want you to pay attention because we're going to see those things again. And I'm going to choose to highlight also the car because that's also where the setting is. Uh-oh, I think I chose the wrong color. That's okay. All right, will you continue reading for me? Right here.
As a person, as far as I'm concerned, the Civil War was sad and it happened a long time ago. We couldn't change history, so why did we have to remember worst parts of it? That's a terrible accident. My father scolded. Excuse me, honestly, a battlefield seems kind of spooky. Somebody told me that they were haunted, and well, we didn't believe in that kind of stuff in our family. I still couldn't shake the image of ghost tail with of long dead soldiers floating up from a shallow grave without my hand.
Very nice. Thank you. All right, so these 3 paragraphs, we start to see the conflict. Remember, the conflict is the problem that the main character is facing. So what is, and I want to just underline all of these, because this is where we start to see the conflict. So what is the conflict that they're facing? What's the problem? Say that one more time. Talking about the past. Why is she saying, so I want to point out a couple of things. It's sad. I'm going to actually highlight these. It's sad. I learned all I needed to know in social studies. I see that chat heating up. I'm coming for it. Okay, Tanya, if it's still lagging, I will post this video at the end of the day. Okay? Oh yes, Miss Raven, there we go. She is scared and doesn't want to go. I'm going to add too that she is because she thinks it's going to be sad. And she already knows about it, right? Which is funny because she thinks like, oh, I learned about it in my textbook, so I don't need to know. But we all know that in your textbook, it's like this much information about, you know, a 5-year war. And so she thinks that she already knows everything, and so she's going to, like, there's no point in going. But Raven's exactly right. She also mentions that she's scared because they told me it was haunted. I'm going to highlight that. So even though she doesn't really believe in ghosts, she's kind of like freaked out by it, right? All right, keep going for us, Mackenzie. I stuck close. Right here.
I stuck close to my dad as the tour began. We walked along a peaceful expanse of tall green grass to a stone wall that surrounded a simple one-room cottage. The guide explained that it had been just as the battle took place. The home of a woman who submitted to the injuries of both Union and
Confederate
soldiers during the battle. I didn't see the ghost of the generous woman, but I could easily imagine her dressed in a bonnet and ankle-length skirt, quietly singing a song to comfort the injured as she bandaged their wounds. I imagine her as a bold, as brave, feeling of the horrifying noise of the battle as she rushed to help any way she could.
Okay.
We walked up a hill from which the Confederate cavalry charged in the final desperate moments of the battle. In my mind, I saw the rage,
silhouettes
of these young soldiers. Some of them no older than me, as they descended the hill in the early morning mist. I shivered with their fear.
Very good. Okay, I'm going to interrupt you there. So these 2 paragraphs have a lot of imagery in them. A lot of pictures, some sounds, some images. Like these, like, does the lady really exist? Like, is she looking at the lady? No. She imagines what it would be like there, right? The author uses something that we haven't talked about yet, when they say bold as brass. Bold as brass. What do you think bold as brass means? Or what is that?
Like she's very confident in the bold person.
Yes. She's very confident. So, but think back to our literary elements. I didn't phrase my question very well. If you go back to these literary elements, what is bold as brass? It's a couple of things.
Oh, alliteration.
It is alliteration. So I'm going to say that it is alliteration, but it's also something else. Oh, I lost my comment. It's also a piece of figurative language. Oh, I think someone just said it in the chat. And it's a simile. Very nice. Because it compares two things using like or as. So see that bold as brass? But you're exactly right. It's also alliteration with that repeated B sound. Okay? There are some other places that have a lot of alliteration in here. Does anyone see another place where we have alliteration in these two paragraphs? What about right here? The Confederate cavalry charged. We've got that repeated C. And we said alliteration was going to be yellow up at the top right? Yeah. Yellow. And then anything else? We've got green grass. That's alliteration. And the morning mist. That's also alliteration. Okay? And so sometimes we overlook them because they're so pleasing to us that they don't stick out. That's what alliteration helps us do. It helps make the writing flow and make it appealing to the reader. You just don't, like as a reader, you don't always stop and think about it. But if I said the morning dew, those words have such different starting sounds that they don't feel like they match together. And so there's this kind of stoppage between them. All right, keep going for me, please.
As afternoon wore on, I heard other such stories about the events that had taken place on the ground beneath my feet. It was
fascinating.
And I came to understanding why people said that battlegrounds were haunted. It wasn't because they were actual ghosts there. Instead, just being there so sparks
You're okay.
imagination that you could almost see the soldiers smell the gunpowder and hear the roar of the canyon. I wanted to explore every inch of it, and I would have done it just that if my brother, who's been so
enthusiastic
about visiting a battlefield, hadn't started
clamoring
to leave, complaining about his store fee and empty belly.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. Here is an example of irony. Remember how at the beginning, what was the conflict? She didn't want to go, right?
She didn't want to go.
Yeah, but now she really, really likes it. Like she's very interested in it. And so that's an example of irony. So I'm going to mark it right here. Uh-oh, wrong thing. Because we didn't expect, and she didn't expect, to really like it so much. So I'm going to mark that as irony.